I want to preface this video by saying that I really liked The Broken Code as an overall arc. A while back, I took a years-long hiatus from reading Warriors due to the Power of Three and Omen of the Stars falling too flat for me to remain interested in keeping up with the latest main series release. While I feel that A Vision of Shadows was more intriguing than the aforementioned two, in my opinion, it had nothing on The Broken Code. The Broken Code was the first arc since the prophecies began that actually kept me on the edge of my seat while reading, didn't have severe pacing issues to the point where it dragged too much for me to enjoy it, and had me genuinely eagerly anticipating what might come next, to the point where I bought the books immediately after they became available to purchase. That was pretty refreshing to say the least. That's not to say that the writing was anywhere near flawless, hence the title of this video, but it certainly was a significant improvement in comparison to prior arcs. Now, one of my biggest grievances with this arc takes place during Book 6, A Light in the Mist, more specifically with what happens toward the end of the book following Ashfur's defeat. The scene that I'm about to analyze was quite possibly the most frustrating part of the entirety of the Broken Code for me to read. In my eyes, it only further added to the overwhelming amount of nonsensical inconsistencies that have existed since Warriors began when it comes to trying to decipher how StarClan and the Dark Forest are meant to function, especially when it comes to determining what deceased cat is eligible for either world and why. Sure, it answered a few questions, but I feel it only left the readers asking even more of them afterwards. The scene in question is set at StarClan's end of the Moon Pool, where Leafpool is speaking to the group of still living and Dark Forest cats who are temporarily visiting StarClan following the deaths of Ashfur and Bristlefrost. She informs them that this is where StarClan cats meet to visit with medicine cats in their dreams and to watch over their loved ones in the living clans. Misty Star interjects during that conversation and asks the question that we as an audience have been wondering for a very long time. Why did you let Ashfur join StarClan in the first place? Now, as I'm sure many of you remember, we were given some sort of explanation by Yellowfang back during Sign of the Moon. Jayfeather, who was also visiting StarClan at that time, notices Ashfur among the StarClan cats and is reasonably shocked by this. He asks Yellowfang why Ashfur is there, and Yellowfang responds by telling him that Ashfur's only fault was to love too much. Of course, several Warriors fans took issue with this, and it was a hot topic of debate for years prior to the Broken Code being released. Obviously, this notion was incorrect, and the Broken Code addresses this. Anyway, after Misty Star demands to know why StarClan allowed Ashfur access to StarClan, Greywing and Skystar proceed to explain that StarClan opted to give Ashfur a chance because they believed that he had atoned for his actions. I will go ahead and read an excerpt taken from the following page, as I feel the dialogue between the characters present is critically important in understanding why the rules that seem to govern StarClan are so flawed and erratic. Atoned, Juniperclaw growled. If that was all a warrior needed to do to join StarClan, the Dark Forest would be empty. Rootspring reached the group but hung back, feeling unsure next to these important cats. Do I have anything to say that's worthy of the founder of SkyClan? One Star lifted his chin. Deciding who can join StarClan and who should be in the Dark Forest is a hard decision, and we don't take it lightly. A gathering of StarClan warriors discusses every cat to try to understand what is in their hearts, and to judge whether they should be allowed to join us. Sometimes we are wrong, Firestar mewed with a sigh. Rootspring nodded thoughtfully, remembering Snowtuft. Despite feeling intimidated, he had to speak up for his Dark Forest ally. No other cat would. Is it possible to change your decision once it's been made? Skystar looked puzzled. Why would we? A Dark Forest warrior saved my life, Rootspring told him. He saved it twice and sacrificed his whole existence to let me and Bristlefrost escape from Ashfur. Surely a cat like him deserves a place in StarClan. One Star sniffed. If he's gone, it's irrelevant. Juniperclaw narrowed his eyes. But what if other Dark Forest cats change like Snowtuft did? Is there really no other way to earn a place in StarClan even after death? Greywing looked thoughtful. We are all judged on what we did in our lifetime. It's no use being sorry afterward. It's more important not to break the warrior code in the first place. Rootspring thought this was too harsh. Surely every warrior has done something wrong. He looked around the others. Is there any cat here who can say for sure they've never broken the warrior code? The cats exchanged glances. Ashfur definitely broke it, Graystripe growled. Firestar shifted his paws. No system is perfect, he mewed. We just try to be as fair as we can be. One Star nodded. We try to consider not so much whether they broke the warrior code, he mewed, but why, and we try to decide if, despite everything, their hearts are still true. I had to persuade StarClan to accept me, Leafpool mewed. I stood in front of some of the greatest warriors the clans have ever known and convinced them that, despite my code breaking, I was worthy of being a StarClan warrior. End of excerpt. Of course, there's quite a bit to unpack from this. I want to reiterate and focus on what One Star said during this argument specifically. We try to consider not so much whether they broke the warrior code, but why, and we try to decide if, despite everything, their hearts are still true. If this is the case, then there are several cats that can be called into question when it comes to how they were sentenced post-death. One of these cats I want to focus on specifically is Juniperclaw. Juniperclaw is a cat introduced to us during A Vision of Shadows. To briefly summarize his character arc during ABOS, in an angered attempt to put an end to the altercation between SkyClan and then fragmented ShadowClan, Juniperclaw laces SkyClan's fresh kill pile with deathberry seeds. This results in Sparrowpelt nearly dying from being poisoned, and Juniperclaw, later admitting to what he'd done, is then skirned by Tigerstar, demoted from his rank as deputy, and he soon afterward runs away from his clan in shame. When he discovers Violetshine and Shadowkit trapped in a flood, at risk of drowning, he jumps in to save them. He allows himself to be swept away in the process, and his last words to Violetshine before he dies are, "Tell Tigerstar I'm sorry." He is sent to the Dark Forest after his death. Now it goes without saying that Juniperclaw's crimes were inexcusable. He put innocent cats at risk and nearly caused the death of Sparrowpelt. However, when the topic of atonement comes into play, my question is, what exactly sets Juniperclaw apart from the other cats that had committed heinous acts in life, but had enough of a change of heart before their death that they were worthy of a spot in StarClan? What makes him different from cats like Mudclaw, who openly rebelled against his clan and started a war, Needletail, who also attempted to destroy her clan, or Hollyleaf, who murdered a clanmate in an attempt to keep her true parentage from being publicly revealed, or even the notorious Ashfur, who attempted murder on 2 occasions before he was killed by Hollyleaf. All of these cats were determined to be reformed enough to enter StarClan despite their actions for one reason or another, with Needletail having died in a similar manner to Juniperclaw, saving a clanmate in an act of redemption. Why were Juniperclaw's multiple acts of redemption in both life and death not enough for him to be granted the same chance? He was outright refused, and there is virtually no explanation for this. During the aforementioned debate in A Light in the Mist, StarClan explicitly states that they attempt to judge fairly based on where a cat's heart truly lies, not based on whether or not they broke the warrior code. If that's the case, why are we being given the verdict that cats like Juniperclaw, who redeemed himself more than once in dying to save Violetshine and Shadowsight, and in risking himself to assist in protecting Rootspring and taking down Ashfur, are unworthy of a place in StarClan? Why, immediately after claiming that they recognize that certain cats are capable of atoning for their actions in life, in an attempt to justify allowing Ashfur into StarClan, do these StarClan cats then proceed to argue that it doesn't matter how sorry someone is, and that they just should have never broken the code in the first place? Even during this scene, StarClan is obviously openly contradicting itself in a manner that is, in my eyes, completely ludicrous. Juniperclaw ends up offering to guard the tunnel leading between the Dark Forest and StarClan that Ashfur had dug, in a further attempt to prove he was sorry for what he had done. He now eternally remains in a state of limbo, neither existing in the Dark Forest nor StarClan, ensuring that no cat can pass from the Dark Forest into StarClan. As of writing this script, this is the very last we see of him. I personally feel, all things considered, that he deserved better than this. I do not really believe that he was still a threat to anyone. I was disappointed because I feel that this discussion could have been the perfect opportunity to address just how inconsistent and biased StarClan's means of governing had been up to this point. Allowing certain questionable cats into StarClan and refusing others for no discernible reason has certainly not been their only blunder either. The fact that cats like Squirrelflight and Leafpool had to stand trial for their code-breaking in Squirrelflight's Hope, and technically could have been refused entry to StarClan, despite all of the coercion and encouragement on StarClan's part way back when, made absolutely no sense. And the most infuriating part to me is the fact that the narrative came so close to hitting the nail on the head when it came to pointing out and rectifying these issues, especially through Rootspring's point of view, but it still managed to miss the mark. Anyway, like I said, aside from this glaring issue, I still thoroughly enjoyed the broken code as a whole. I've still yet to read a Starless Clan, but plan to start doing that within the month. Thank you guys for watching and for listening to my battlecats rant. Please let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, and let me know in the comments what you would like me to talk about in the future. See you guys next time!